Okay, so we've refueled the lander here, and we've got it fairly well topped up actually. These two tanks here are basically full. These two here are about half full. So for the final mission of our lander here, disco lights and all, we're going to take it down to Val. And I've picked a pretty interesting spot on Val that is a not quite the highest spot, but is one of the highest spots on Val. It's equatorial, and it overlooks the lowest spot. So it should be a pretty interesting view. As I understand, Val, with not only parallax extended, but also with the new planet textures that KSP itself introduced quite a while back, actually at this point, they look pretty impressive. So looking forward to seeing what Val looks like with parallax continued, and we have our burn set up here in around 11 minutes. Let's have a look and see what it's going to do, because it's actually kind of a neat little maneuver. We are ejecting from BOP here with only 90 meters per second. We are then doing an adjustment down here of 118 meters per second. And that is going to kick us around Tylo here. It's not a super close pass. We're still a little over 5 million meters, 5,000 kilometers up. So it's not going to be a super close pass. But it does give us just about a flat alignment here, only 5 degrees off of our target planet Val. And, oh, it's a moon actually. We have our target moon Val. And we don't have quite a perfect approach here lined up. So once we've exited Tylo's orbit here, we'll make some adjustments to make sure that we actually do encounter it here. But we do have that burn ejecting us from BOP in 10 minutes. We shall see you on the other side. Okay, ignite those engines and let's leave BOP behind. Farewell to Kraken. I still think that thing looks like milk chocolate. Alright, try to get that right down to 0 if we can, as making our gravity assist is pretty critical here. Alright, we'll get ourselves out of BOP. Alright, we're out of BOP's SOI here. Let's see how things look. We have that burn coming up here in 8 days. I think we can see Val from here, but we're not quite close enough yet. We have a 118 meter per second burn coming up. We'll start to drift a little bit there. Let's bring it up. Well, I guess we should actually try to be watching our encounter here and see how we're looking. Oh, here we go. It's a bit of fine tuning. Turn the SAS off. So we were able to make a little adjustment to the Tylo encounter, and we've added a third burn here. I guess that'd be a second one after we just done a first one already. That is going to adjust our orbit again a little bit further, and that gets us into a Val encounter. So there we have just one more burn here, 379 meters per second. Tylo's going to do the rest, and we will be in a nice close encounter with nearly equatorial orbit around Val. Well, let's get underway. Here we go. Tylo's getting big. Woo! Moved by that thing pretty quick. Wow. I'm not sure I've ever seen the what is this button here called? Skip to burn time or something like that? I don't think I've seen it be quite that graceful, flying through an SOI, slowing down over the SOI margins, and then speeding up again to come up to our burn time. Yeah, I kind of wish we'd had a better look at Tylo on the way by, but and as much as I hate to plug my own video, you can check out my video called Depths of Jewel Discovery 2025. There's a short version and a long version, and they're basically just dropping the Discovery model from 2001: A Space Odyssey into the nightmare fuel clouds of Joule. Alright, well, we've shut down those engines and turned off the SAS. We'll check out our orbit in a minute here, but I want to point out, you know, Kerbin out there. Sagan would be proud. It's not quite a pale blue dot, more of a pale green dot, but, you know, look, judging by our crew here, I could probably guess why it's a more of a green dot than blue. Still, it's nice to see Kerbin off in the distance there. Here we have Eve and Moho hugging the sun nice and close. Check out Val here, see how close our encounter is. Oh, look at that, we're 207 kilometers up. That is fantastic. And it's not quite equatorial. It is going to give us, I think, a pretty good chance of hitting where we want to. And I could adjust it a bit, I guess. Let's see if we can't tweak this a bit to make it a little more equatorial. 77 kilometers altitude. What's it going to take us to slow down there? Oh, another 504 meter per second burn. That comes up in 2 days. You can see already Val's looking pretty cool. While we're here, let's go ahead and mark our landing point. Okay, so that's the spot we're going to try and land. We may tweak that a bit. As we can see here, I just chose it from Kerbal Maps, but I can see that maybe this is even a better view here. Hope the daylight tracks a little bit closer to where we're going to be in our orbit, because if we're going to try to land in this orbit, either way, I think it's going to be just about in darkness. Well, let's go ahead and coast our way over to Val. We'll be there in around 2 days. We should be seeing Val coming up. There we are. Alright, so we are just about into our burn here for our Val braking maneuver. Realizing that we've been to at least the SOI of every moon here around Joule except for Lathe. Maybe we need to come back here with a space plane and do some flying around Lathe and maybe visit some of those mountain volcanoes that we've heard so much about. Looks like the glow of Joule is giving Val quite an interesting effect there. You know, Lathe and Tylo there as well. Got a pretty nice view of the moons. Alright, well, on this side of the orbit, our landing zone actually appears to be fairly lit. We'll target for the landing zone here, but as we get a little bit closer, we may try to hit one of these peaks. But let's go ahead and undock and set our descent burn. I think we still have our crew on board. Just Jeb. And you know what? Because we do have a fairly low thrust-to-weight ratio and kind of not great delta V on this one, we're going to only send Jeb down. Are you just complaining? Alright, Jeb, let's undock. We don't bring any Mun propellant this time because we are trying to make things as mass-free as possible. That's why we are only sending down one crew. So we have actually a little more delta V than I expected. 2,056 meters per second. Technically, that is well within marginal limits to land on Val successfully at the equator. Are we flying retrograde? Oh my goodness, we are flying retrograde around Val. I did not notice that. That is not going to help our... Oh boy. Hmm. That is interesting. That is not going to make it easy to get up and down. Boy, oh boy, that's going to make it pretty close. It's a good thing that we are not bringing any other crew along besides Jeb there. And in fact, I could see that Jeb may have to do the rest of the return to the spacecraft on EVA. That's a distinct possibility. Yeah, I was not really paying super close attention when we did our Val encounter here. I did not realize that we were on a retrograde encounter. That is going to be interesting. It won't make a huge difference for when we leave Val and head back to Kerbin, but it's going to make a heck of a big difference on our ascent and landing to Val. In fact, if I realized that we were on a retrograde encounter, I probably would have done the deorbit burn with the mothership and then burn the mothership back to a stable orbit again. Oh well, it's too late now. Good luck, Jeb. Technically, I don't think you have enough Delta V to make it back to orbit in your lander. However, you do carry a bit of monoprop on your backpack. I hope. Let's just make sure, actually. He does have some monoprop. Okay. Let's get that burn underway. We are definitely on the way down now. And Val is looking pretty impressive from this altitude. We're still 40 kilometers up from the surface. I can see our landing zone there. Let's do some adjustments here. Alright, well, we're not going to be too fussy where we come down on that mountain up there. As long as we come down somewhere safe. And the lowest point on the map, I believe, is somewhere up in this dried up lake bed up here. That's some pretty steep cliffs there. You can get some real idea how high that is. Our landing zone should be somewhere around 6 to 7 kilometers above sea level. Yeah, that's looking just about right. Let's hope we didn't wait too long to slow her down. Alright, not doing too bad here. Still 3 kilometers up. That landing point just a little bit higher. That was looking pretty steep there anyways. We are very close to our fuel margins here already. We're probably well into our fuel safety margins. And just so you know, Jeb, you're going to be doing the last of your orbital insertion burn on your backpack. So make sure to bring all your snacks with you when you leave. Some pretty interesting terrain there, I must say. Those look pretty wild. Those must be part of the parallax continued. They look pretty wild. All right, we are down in Val. What was our altitude here? 7.3 kilometers up, and we could have hit a little bit higher if we tried a little bit harder. We could have landed right at the peak here. I think that probably is the highest point, as when I marked that one there, it was only an approximation. Well, oh wait, we don't want to do any EVA flying around because we need to use all that EVA stuff. Well, we can still go do some spacewalking here. So what, these things grow out of the ground or something? Wow, they're wild. Oh, metallic, but they don't seem to reflect. Oh, but this does. That's definitely reflecting. That's interesting. Oh, it's reflecting jewel. It's not reflecting the green of the Kerbal. It's reflecting jewel. Oh, look at that. Look how beautiful it is from this side. Reflecting jewel on this side. Well, maybe a little bit of RCS won't hurt. Whoa, this thing is tall. All right. Standing up on top of the pointy ice crystal on Val. Jewel in the background. It's a lot stickier than it looks. Oh, don't let it impale you! Oh, that was ugly. Right in the Gadonkanoi. That's gonna leave a mark. Sorry, Jeb. Let's just go ahead and plant our flag. 73.44 meters. That's quite a ways up still. Think you can jump up there, Jeb? I think you can make the height. See if you can make the angle next time. Alright, nice jump. Let's have a look and see where the mothership is. Actually, that's kind of convenient. She's flying right over very, very soon. Alright, 710 meters per second. You definitely don't have enough to get back into orbit. But that's okay. As long as we have enough to get us high enough that we're not going to hit the planet again. I think at 17 kilometers we're pretty safe. We were at an altitude of 7. We know the highest one is around 8 to 8.5. 17 kilometers. We're super safe. Let's get ourselves close to our periapsis. Okay, so we definitely don't have enough fuel to make orbit. What we're going to do is basically just pitch up as much as we can, burn everything we got, and that's it. It says we have 19 meters per second of fuel left. That's mildly disappointing because we definitely aren't getting it. Alright, well that's still pretty hairy. You ready? Let's go. Say goodbye to your lander. Wait, before we go, let's make sure we turn on the disco lights. Alright. Now let's go. Get ourselves in a somewhat of a forward trajectory. There we go. Let's hope that we can get ourselves bye, lander. Where'd it go? There it is. The lander's done pretty good for us. Took us down to 3 moons and almost all the way back up again. Not bad. Oh, we're still in deep doo-doo here. We are not in orbit yet. And our periapsis is down behind us instead of in front of us. Not a great thing. Let's pull up a little bit. I think that periapsis is getting a little bit closer to us. How's that orbit looking? I don't have an apoapsis yet. Let's keep going. Is that RCS doing 2.9? I think that was orbit there. That is. We have a 3.9 kilometer periapsis, 40 kilometer apoapsis. That is a little low. I don't think that's going to be high enough. Let's see if we can't raise that periapsis as much as possible here. What do we got? 60 by 15. Oh, we are way up there. 60 by 15. That is much higher than I expected us to get. Well, you did it, Jeb. You are safely in orbit. Yeah, exactly. Just chill for a while here. Enjoy the view. We'll, I guess, have to come and get you. Don't worry. Yeah, I don't think Jeb knows how to worry. All right, Bill, Bob, you have to go get Jeb. He managed to land down on Val, but unfortunately didn't quite make it back to orbit with his lander. You're going to have to go down to get him. 2.1 degree inclination, not super great, but not super bad. I'd like to encounter him at his apoapsis when he's going at his lowest. Let's see if we can do that. All right, we have just a tiny little 47.2 meters per second burn that's going to occur in about 5 hours. So Jeb's got a couple orbits actually to make. He'll be floating around for 2 orbits, and we'll pick him up on that 3rd one. Val looks like it might be worth exploring. There's dried up craters down there, some of those peaks. We never did get to see one of these highly reflective surfaces up close. I think we need to come back out here to Jewel. We need to bring ourselves a space plane to fly around Lathe, check out those volcanoes, and look at the valley here. That's interesting. Definitely need to come back to Val and Lathe. Okay, we're coming, Jeb. Okay, we're only 50 meters away when we close in at not even 70 meters per second. That's going to be a very easy pickup. All right, Jeb, wake up. Your rescue's on the way. Ooh, that looks like it'd be tricky to land on. Trying to land on the tip of a pencil. Speaking of which, how's your butt doing? That rock formation looked like it might have left a mark. You know, I think he's enjoying this a little too much. I'm glad to see that persistent rotation works on Kerbals too. Okay, our mothership's only 2 minutes away from our encounter. We're quite a ways up now. At 50 kilometers altitude. That's right, Jeb. Time to wake up. Time to go home. Whoa! Overshot that a little bit. Take it easy. You don't have that much RCS left. 1.9 units of RCS, looks like. I think we'll be alright. That was a little hairy, though. Whoa, 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 easy, easy. There's a ladder. All right, you did it. Nice way to spacewalk your way back into orbit. And in fact, you earned the right to fly in the driver's seat again. Good job. won't need trajectories from here. I guess that's it. We have 3,800 meters per second at Delta V. That is plenty of fuel to get us home. So I guess that wraps up our Joule mission. We did our landing on Pole, we did the landing on Bop, we did a landing on Val, and just about made it back into orbit. Well, a little help from the RCS. And we've also completed that landing out in Eeloo. We did a couple of landings there. Now it's just time to bring everybody home. And first up, bringing them home is actually our Eeloo mission. That's right, we were in a polar orbit around Eeloo, weren't we? That's going to make a fairly interesting ejection, I think. In fact, we may have to do an ejection and another burn once we leave Eeloo orbit. In fact, that's almost certainly what we're going to have to do. As you can see here, it's kicking us into quite an evil inclination here. And as much as I like to try to fly you that far, I think we might try something a little less radical. But that's not for another 322 days for our Eeloo Kerbin window. Let's skip ahead. Okay, as we come around to our ejection burn, leaving Eeloo orbit behind us, it's going to take us 256 meters per second to eject from Eeloo's sphere of influence. And as we are in a nearly polar orbit, we'll be ejecting pretty much straight, well, is that up? That'll get us into a decent orbit around the sun, where we will do another 2,029 meters per second burn in approximately 163 days. Now, those of us who are good at math are going to see here that 2,029 meters per second plus the 256 meters per second slightly exceeds our Delta V here that we have displayed in our return craft, which means, oh, we're passing over the poles. There's a very uncomfortable pivot of the camera around the poles. But as I was saying there, that means that we are perilously close to not making it home based on the fuel requirements. However, we have the return capsule, which has its own Delta V, its own fuel, its own really tiny engines, but it has around 200 meters per second of Delta V left in it. Now, we did steal some of the fuel from the return capsule in order to do that second landing there, but I think that we're still going to make it, probably within maybe 50 to 100 meters per second of Delta V left over by the time we hit Kerbin's atmosphere. But I think that we're still going to make it there. By the way, when we hit Kerbin, we're going to be going over 3,000 meters per second. That should be pretty spectacular with that Firefly mod. All right, we have that burn here in 14 minutes. Quick save for good luck. Only 50 seconds for this burn. Saying goodbye to Eeloo. Looks a little more like vanilla cake than it does creme brulee. But it was nice visiting you. Be back again soon. Maybe. Alright, that gets us an ejection burn complete. Let's see how things are looking for our encounter with home here. Looks like we're a little bit off course, but not terribly. Oh wait, no, I think we should still have our Kerbin encounter. That's the second one. Very Kerbin. Let's make a couple of fine-tuned adjustments here. Alright, you can see we have a little red indicator down there indicating that we are a little short on Delta V to get home. We are relying on the Delta V in our return craft, which means that they are going to have a very cramped ride home. It's going to take them around 2 years to get home, so they'll be very well acquainted with each other by the time they get home. Let's set that alarm clock. And we leave Eeloo behind. Begin our coast home. Okay, we are out of Eeloo's sphere of influence, and we are 133 days until their return burn, which means that our Joule to Kerbin interface is going to come up before our course correction burn. Let's head back to our friends coasting around Val and make sure they are ready to come home. Okay, we are coming around Val here with Joule rise on the horizon. Let's see what it's going to take to get us home. Now, due to the location of where Val is in respect to its position around Jewel, we actually want to wait a little bit longer here for Val to coast around Jewel's orbit a bit further, because we want Val to be roughly between Jewel and the Sun, which is going to give us more of a cleaner ejection burn. So we'll keep an eye on Jewel here, and keep an eye on the orbital track, and coast around a couple of days here. That should do it. All right, we have a fairly efficient burn here, actually. 1,116 meters per second, coming up in around 12 minutes. That is going to get us back home. Let's see here. In around 2 years, 363 days. That's going to be a pretty close arrival time as our Eeloo crew. So it's pretty interesting that our guys from Kerbin went out to Eeloo and back, and out to Jewel and back, 2 different missions, and they're going to be getting home roughly at the same time, probably within half a year. Probably a little hopeful trying to get home right from Val orbit to a Kerbin encounter on a single burn. However, the trajectory map says we're going to do it, so off we go. See you, Val. See you, Bob. See you, Paul. It's been a blast. We'll drive the rest of the way into our Kerbin encounter here by RCS. It's pretty close, actually. Let's see what's it going to take to bring us in. All right, that's close enough, because we've got tons of Delta V. We can adjust it as soon as we hit Kerbin SOI. Let's see what the Navicom has to say. 20 minutes to our Jewel exit here. Let's go ahead and I guess that's 20 minutes to our Val exit. Yeah, I think we're going to have to come back to Val at some point. Maybe do a serious explore. And there is something on Val near the South Pole which would be worth visiting again, but I don't think it's visible anymore. I am kind of curious, though. Alright, another 80 days until we are out of Jewel's SOI. As we float away, we see Val, I think that's Val casting a shadow there on Jewel. Looks like Tylo's going to come around here in a moment to cast a shadow. There it goes. Oh, and Lathe as well. Got to see a couple of eclipses there on our way out of Jewel. Now let's see what things look like here. Looks like we are 2 years, 301 days to our return, which means we're going to be very, very close to our Eeloo return here. But we'd have a final burn here for our Eeloo mission. This is the burn that we are a little worried about, because we do not have enough fuel on board to make it. So before we even attempt this burn, let's just get everybody on board the return craft. We don't want to accidentally leave anyone behind. Alright, looks like everyone is present and accounted for. They look a lot happier now than they will by the time they get home, I think, after 2 years cramped up in this thing. Okay, we are 71 days from our burn. Let's coast around a little bit here. And once we burn all the fuel here from the mothership, we'll undock and probably actually have to do another course correction, because I don't think that the maneuver node is going to stay with us when we undock from the mothership. We are another 5 minutes away. We'll see you when we're done. That's it. With an unceremonious thud, we are out of fuel. We are all on board the return craft here. Just double check. And undock. Power up those engines. We only have 195 meters per second to Delta V left in that thing. A little bit less even than I thought. Let's extricate ourselves from the mothership. We probably don't need to make any adjustments at all. I suspect that if we just stick to a pure retrograde trajectory, we're going to be pretty close. So we've got our little wee engines lit. All right, Off we go. Finish off the burn with the little spiders. See, we're not pulling away very quickly there. We're just barely a kilometer away from the mothership, as this it doesn't have a whole lot of thrust to weight ratio. Probably no more than those nukes on the other one did, actually. Let's move it in. Okay, that is close enough. 75 meters per second. I can't believe that our margins have been this close. Alright, we have a small adjustment that we can make here with the RCS. And there we are. We are on the way home. I am a little surprised that we are down to 75 meters per second of our original, I don't know, was it 6,500 meters per second to Delta V? However, I believe we are on the way home. Let's go ahead and set this alarm clock. Time things, and how close are we? 201 days, 229 days. So we are returning within 28 days of each other. Considering how long they've been traveling here, what is it, just about 5 years, I believe, with these guys? 8 years! These guys have been out here for 8 years. And the guys been out there for a little bit less than that. They left earlier, but they are arriving within 19 days of each other. I gotta say, that's pretty wild. I did not expect that. Yeah, well, looks like our first guys home are actually going to be at the Eeloo mission. So let's go ahead and do a quick save for good luck. We have 2 years, 201 days until our Jewel mission comes home. Hope you guys like each other and brought along a change of clowns. And you can see those planets in the distance making their way around the sun as we get a little bit closer to Kerbin here. One year, 309 days. Wow, you can see Jewel up there. Oh no, that's Kerbin. Kerbin with Minmus and the moon circling it. We are home. Alright, we have a 29-kilometer periapsis with Kerbin, which means we are most definitely going to be hitting it pretty hard. Alright, let's set our retrograde here and make sure that our chutes are deployed. I don't want to even think about that. Alright, here we go. It should be pretty interesting. By the time we hit the atmosphere, we're going to be well over... Well, we're already going 3,600 meters per second. Hope these guys are ready for some major G-forces. Right, well that Kerber looks pretty small, but we're only a day away, barely 6 hours at 4 kilometers a second. This thing's going to come in pretty quick. Whoa, here we go, slow down. A little view of the moon there as we come in. Ooh, did I say 4 kilometers? I mean almost 5 kilometers. Just about 5 kilometers a second. We're going to be hitting this atmosphere like a brick wall. Oh yeah. Let's watch his G-meter. Here we go, climbing now. Adder's getting a little concerned. Even Valentina's getting a little concerned. Hey, don't worry, you guys are almost home. Don't worry. As you can see here, Firefly's doing its thing. Re-entry is looking pretty fantastic. Our G-forces are well up there now. Looks like just about 8 or 9 Gs. Starting to taper off. Oh, look at that. There's our first sonic boom. Okay, I think we have made it successfully through re-entry. We barely even skidded off 250 units of whip lighter there. Okay, there goes our chutes, waiting for a full deployment here. And we are coming down on land. There we go, we've broken through the cloud barrier. Alright, chutes have fully deployed. And since we are coming down on land, let's just jettison our heat shield here, lighten the load a little bit. Gets us down to just over 5 meters per second. It's not going to be too hard. Ooh, looks like a storm's a brewing. Still, it's pretty nice to come home and see any kind of atmosphere, isn't it, guys? Alright, we are down safe and sound. 10 years, 273 days for our mission, and only 26 days until our friends from Jool rendezvous with our planet. Let's bring these guys home and go meet our Jool crew and bring them back home too. Alright, well, we do see Kerbin, Minmus, and the moon out here. We have a small course correction for 1.7 meters per second to make sure that we actually encounter Kerbin and don't just scoot on past it. Alright, well, that's going to get us home. Let's coast over to our Kerbin sphere of influence. A wild spin there, guys. Hope you don't mind the ride. Okay, well, let's make sure we have everyone on board our landing craft here. We don't want to forget anybody on board, as this thing is going to make some pretty good fireworks as it re-enters. Alright, looks like everyone's on board here. That's a good sign. Alright, we are just over a day away. Let's see, we're coming in kind of a little bit retrograde, which should be at least a little more interesting to watch, as we will be coming in on the daylight side. When we hit around 300 kilometers, we'll go ahead and separate our landing craft. Getting pretty big there. Alright, let's go ahead and undock from the mothership. Get ourselves into a retrograde orientation, watching our mothership fall away. Thanks a lot for serving us well. You had all kinds of Delta V left. Probably could have burned you back into a Kerbin orbit, but in the meantime, we'll just enjoy watching the fireworks. Looks like some space junk flying by overhead. It's pretty interesting. Oh yeah, Eeloo debris. Interesting. Not quite as fast as we were on the Eeloo mission, of course. Not quite as far out, not as far to fall. Still going over 4.5 kilometers a second if we hit that atmosphere. There goes our mothership. Kind of hoping it doesn't crash into us, actually. Whoa, some debris. That was a little too close for comfort there. That was interesting. Yeah, between Firefly, volumetric clouds, environmental enhancements, scatterer, parallax unlimited. I think we've got ourselves a pretty good looking game here considering the age of this thing. It's too bad there was never a KSP 2. This game really deserved a proper sequel. Picking up some storm clouds down below. Looks like we'll be coming in for a water landing here. Those chutes deployed. Fall through some weather here below us. Chutes fully deployed. I believe we are home safe and sound. Alright, and black down. Well, there we are. Bill, Jeb, Bob, Addard, Roll, Valentina, all successfully out to their missions and back, home safe and sound. A Bop landing, a pole landing, a Val landing, 2 Eeloo landings. And pretty close call there, actually, in that 75 meters per second return. This guy here, these guys here, they had quite a bit more fuel to spare, but nevertheless, we are all home safe and sound. Well, hey, thanks a lot for watching. This was a bit of a longer video, 3 parts, almost 3 hours. We shall see you again next time for some more Death Engineering adventures in KSP. Thanks for watching, Internet. Have an awesome day.